All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming into April 17th, 2019. Netflix reported. We got a lot going on, and I'm also going to give you guys a slight market recap because I missed that today. We actually streamed the Netflix earnings report. So again, watch these watch lists. We're going to be covering all of the earnings plays every week, and I'm even going to talk about the rest of this week, the other earnings plays, because this week's kind of drying out, so we're going to cover that in this video. And then, yeah, what else? Oh, and I'm going to show you guys a little play, and we're going to go over the options at the end. So this one's going to be a little bit longer of a video, but as always, I need you guys to post your watch list below. We're going to go over that pre-market on the stream. The stream is youtube.com/thestockmarket. Go there during market hours. You'll find us. It's pinned in the comments, but let's get to the plays. I think I'm going to start with the plays first that reported yesterday. Shout out to chat, everybody who got those Qualcomms. That was a crazy play, but actually Qualcomm didn't report, but we'll find one that did. IBM, I think I already had it up there. There you go, UAL. So these were on the watch list yesterday. These all reported. These were kind of the big names, and now these are going to have implications today or tomorrow on the stock market. And even today was a little bit weird. We didn't have anything else react except for the earnings we got in the morning from United Health, and that actually dropped. So that was another one in the morning, and that kind of, it was up in the morning and then gave it back. Crazy. Those options were nuts. Those are going to be even ones to watch. And again, for you option traders, be careful on the weeklies this week. However, they are they are opportunity in the sense that they are getting closer to the wall because the market is going to be closed on Friday. So watch those contracts. But UNH reported they actually did good, but it wasn't enough there and it dropped. And then also that was pre-market. And then we had Bank of America. They dropped a little and they ended up rallying up. We called those out again on stream. We had some gnarly plays today, but Netflix was the main one after hours. But we'll talk about that a little bit kind of towards the end here because I'm going to even go over the earnings. Again, we were on there on stream and you could see, but we're going to talk about this pre-market, even how to play them, because this is going to be one of those to watch with the earnings. You know, this move, some of you might think you got screwed over on the options or earnings play. You probably did. However, it is a blessing in disguise if you scaled in and went small, because how it goes from here tomorrow, depending on the volatility, it's going to be nice. And now the rest of the earnings are adding, you know, they're all mixing into the pot to give us the ingredients for something nice tomorrow. You know, for the most part, I am fairly bullish, but we're going to see how things play out. IBM is going to be the one that's going to scare me. That could be weighing down on the overall markets. They had some pretty bad earnings. They beat on non-GAAP, that's non-generally generally accepted accounting principles. So, you know, not including taxes and certain stuff, but after, at the end of the day, they still drop, but their forecast wasn't that good, and it was actually, you know, a year-over-year decline. So it was kind of surprising for IBM. The revenues were, even the top-line revenues dropped, so that wasn't good. But watch how that plays on the market. The option chain's a little bit weird. If that gets a big move and the market digests that earnings play negatively, watch IBM for a continuation down. However, we'll also watch, you know, if the market takes some of the other exuberance from anything else, and again, if it is able to pull Netflix up, we'll see what happens from there. But that's a good one to watch, and that happened after hours. Next is CSX. I didn't look into their earnings as much. Even with United Airlines, I didn't look into their earnings yet. I'll get that for you guys pre-market, so make sure you guys are on the stream so you know when we update this. But in general, right off the bat, I know transports are going to do good there now tomorrow, which is going to have a positive effect on the market. So overall, that's going to have a good effect. Tomorrow morning, we're going to get Pepsi and Morgan Stanley from the banks and a few other, like, you know, bigger, obscure companies that could affect the market, but watch for those. And then we're going to talk about the ones next week after we go over the options. There's a few ones, or actually, I'll talk about it right now. I don't know if I showed you guys this, but you could go to Earnings Whisper, go to the calendar. This is a good site for options. Sometimes people are saying it doesn't have them all. You press all here and make sure you go through. I like it in the list view, but these are going to be the companies for tomorrow. Again, Morgan Stanley, Pepsi, Abbott Labs. Again, they could be decent, but Alcoa after hours, I like them. What else? Las Vegas Sands, that could be a decent move. It could tell us a little bit about Win and some of the China stocks, but none of those, I'm probably not going to play any of those on the list. But coming into Thursday now, we get a little bit less companies. Again, you have to press all here, but why is it showing nothing? Well, I guess it's not showing me anything past the 17th, but we'll see there. But those are going to be, I think, the ones wrapping it up on the 24th. The next week we got here, it's actually going to be pretty intense. So I hope you guys are ready. A lot of the other companies. So keep watch with how things are moving. And NVIDIA had, again, chip makers and all that. I'm already thinking of earnings, but when these start to come out, notice the timing and who's lagging and leading in terms of, I guess, where their stage is at in the reporting cycle. So keep that in mind. I don't think I don't think we're going to get any other companies tomorrow. I'm looking through there. And then Friday is usually a dead day. So that might be that could wrap it up. I think Philip Morris and Skechers, I'll confirm those. If you guys could confirm that. Again, if I miss anything too, let me know. But those could be some good plays. We'll probably take a look at those pre-market and see. But I know somebody asked me about those. I like Skechers, but we had the retail numbers. For the most part, though, I have to look at the option chains on all those. And that's been the name of the game here. Some of these option plays are good. Even the Netflix, even when it was dropping, you would have, that was a $20 move from the top. You would have paid $1,000 for the weekly contract. You still wouldn't have been in the money here, and you would have been losing money come tomorrow even if Netflix was right here. So watch out for the options when you're looking at these. So those are those plays. Now let's talk about the ones beyond earnings now that we're going to be watching. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you guys to focus. This was the name of the game today. Well, I think we're going to go back to our main companies because they all had news today. And they're doing it at a good, it's either going to be a great time for some of us or it could be awful. It all is going to depend on these next 2 days. So hopefully you guys see a follow through with these earnings. Hopefully Netflix and IBM and enough was either get some euphoria coming into pricing in for next week. But if it drops, that won't be too good. But if some of these could continue, the timing on these, and that's what I'm saying with the options. But Boeing made a move. They got some sort of contract. We grabbed some of those calls. I sold the weeklies that expire. I'm still holding those ones from last week that we're down on. So remember those 400s? Those are pretty much obliterated. They came back up a little bit today. I think they're down 60% now. But if I'm going to get an opportunity to sell them, I didn't sell them at 60% because it was only worth like 20 or 30 bucks. I said I'd rather hold it because it held up pretty good. And the key with Boeing was watching the velocity. So, and what I mean is that it moved about, I think we calculated it, that was like $4 in 3 minutes, and then at the end of like 10 minutes it was up like $10 or so. So that was the key. That was a big move, and that even highlighted the other play that we saw today. There's Apple. I'm watching that for the put side if there's the follow-through. I made that play today, and I was wrong on it, but I was wrong initially, and you guys will see that, and that's what I said. I'm going to go over this play for you guys so you could get a little bit idea. Just to recap, I am going to make a video covering this more in depth, even with the option strategy and a little option trick I used to be able to snipe this play. So be on the lookout. I'll probably get that posted for you guys this weekend. But Apple, this is what I'm watching for the downside. So there was the Qualcomm and Apple news today. There was news with them settling on a deal over it was royalties and patents. It was a long debated issue. I've talked about this live on the Netflix stream, but this is a big move, and there's a reason why it moved 30% with Qualcomm, and I'm telling you why it's linked to Apple. And again, shout out all the people who've been watching this. Shout out the chat, man. You guys have heard me talk about Apple and Qualcomm. I said anytime I brought them up recently, I said watch them as a pair and even notice how Qualcomm has been behaving differently than the other chip makers. But that's one thing to notice, but at the same time now, these big drops that you've seen Qualcomm take, some of them are earnings, but for the most part, it has to do a lot of these with either the deals, they've had deals falling through, and then also these issues arise threatening their profits. So now, what made this go up and what threatened Apple and what made even Apple go up? The lawsuit is over. That is the best part for both parties. They're all happy about that. Now, Qualcomm, why did Qualcomm shoot 30%? Because they added a $2 per EPS share guidance with that on the news of this. So understand what happened here. They settled this case, and now the settlement of the case, Apple agreed to a 6-year deal with like a 2-year extension at the end, or option to extend at the end, and some other supply chain agreement to, keep supplying some of these chips and keep working together. And so from that, Qualcomm is expected now to, ramp up production and business in these areas where it's expected to add $2 of earnings per share with this getting now resolved and now the future business it's going to create. So here's the funniest part. This is why you got to get hyped for earnings, baby. Qualcomm pretty much had earnings today, or at least came out with its guidance. So that's why it moved up literally 30%. So watch tomorrow how this plays out, because this is going to be a big play, and we got those plays, and I'm going to go over these. We literally bought at 258 right here, man. So if you were on the stream, you saw it. We got them at The June 21st, 75 calls. So we're in the money now. We're in the money 25 cents. Well, we bought them for 35 cents, 35 bucks. They were up at like $200, $300 around close. So we're going to look at those again after when I get to the options segment of these after I finish those plays. But watch Qualcomm. Now, the next part, though, is Apple. So Apple, why now it goes down? And now if you even look here, I grabbed puts. So you guys could even watch these puts. I think these will be good ones because I was already down on them. They were going to come back up. I said I'm going to hold them. I regret getting the shorter ones. I wanted to get them, but I panicked. I was looking at this on my, again, I'm going to explain my whole process and trade behind this, but I was moving too quick on it, and I wanted to go for the cheaper alternative to Qualcomm. That's why it's crazy that I got the Qualcomm contracts that I did, because when the news, I was already looking through the Qualcomm chain, but I was like, oh, there's no way. It was, I put in orders, I wasn't getting them. So then I went and I went to the Apple chain. I said, okay, I'll go for the loser because they've had inverse reactions. And now what does Apple have to lose? The deal's over. They're going to get to use the chips. It's all said and done, but they're going to have to pay a settlement fee. So they're going to have to pay a settlement fee. And I think there's one other negative factor to it. So although it is settled, it doesn't really get Apple as the winner. And Apple was the one that complained in the first place, so they're not really walking away with what they were doing. So again, Qualcomm's the real benefactor here. So again, that might affect Apple, and as more details emerge again on the case, we could see it affect both stocks. So again, whether it's going to be up for Qualcomm or down for Apple, who knows? And again, the chip makers in NVIDIA are going to be one to watch, but who knows? But that's going to be some plays. Again, as that story develops, be prepared for big moves, and that's why the June contracts are amazing. I'm going to talk about how I plan to go over that play, but watch NVIDIA now. They held up a little bit. Then again, today, if you guys watch today's stream, you guys could watch the recap and go through and see exactly when I bought all these plays, and even Apple on the first rip. But NVIDIA caught up with it today. It made some really, really weird moves. If you guys saw that today, you guys remember we made that call out. But NVIDIA is actually holding up. The contracts are pretty decent. And again, tomorrow is going to be a theta crush, so be careful. But watch those. The rest of the chip makers might get a pull. Again, even beyond those now, the industries that did very good, transports. So I want to watch transports, and then I'm going to go back to my other favorite ones when I get to show you guys the contracts. But watch transports now. So FedEx and UPS. UPS has earnings coming up. Those are two good ones to keep an eye on for. The contracts haven't been too appealing, but again, we'll see how they move. But any of the airlines, UAL, I think that's going to be a good continuation play. CSX might be a little bit harder to play as far as the earnings go, but watch out for UAL on that aspect. Next would be also Facebook. So watch out for them. They were operating a little weird today, but they had this expose. So there was an expose apparently of them working on how to value and sell user data. Again, it's just like it's getting worse and worse every single week. I didn't think it was going to affect the stock this morning like that, but apparently it was really bad. But we've seen how they've replied, and they're kind of in earnings mode, so we're going to see. And maybe I think Netflix has been holding up and it's been quiet because they might even use this earnings to maybe announce something that they're just keeping it quiet for. But again, hopefully it's good, because I don't know, it'd be hard to see another down 20 or 30% Facebook like we saw. So there's that. And now lastly, Netflix, how to play this. And as you guys see, a lot of this stuff is focusing on earnings. Again, the same, actually, McDonald's and all those come to play. Home Depot, I sold out of that contract at 205, but watch that contract. I may want to re-enter it or something depending on where it moves, but I got out of that. Watch the value stocks. Again, I want to see how they behave, and we're going to keep an eye on those tomorrow. But I'm liking these plays so far here. Boeing and the earnings continuation plays, and a lot of what we were looking at, and then Qualcomm and Apple. I think it's going to give us a lot on our plate, but also we can't forget to set up for the other earnings. But now Netflix. So this is the one that took the cake today. Now, what's going to be important playing with this now? We're going to look for the same strategy we look for with UNH and every single one. The same thing even happened with UNH today. Honestly, we could use UNH as a perfect example. I thought it was too far out of the money. I could have took the risk, but, I was cautious on it. I didn't think UNH would really move how it did, but even when things take earnings, the difference was UNH didn't really move. It actually moved upwards 3 or 4%, but then it just came down so drastically. But I think it was like the 215s. God, those ones hurt my soul. Are those all in the money? I think it was like the 215s or 220s. These were at like 20 cents earlier today. Yeah, 20 cents in the morning, you could have got them. They hit $6, closed at 3. But this was earnings, again, earnings. And somebody even said that once, earnings is done, there's no play. Or I heard something, but they said, oh, move on to the next stock, move on to the next play for earnings. Not necessarily, because once earnings is over, it's kind of just beginning. You have to wait till the market digests and things go through. So that's what's going to happen for Netflix. That's what I'm going to be watching there in the morning and seeing how that pans out. So watch the it's all going to depend on where it opens pre-market, and that is the key about the earnings. And now Netflix beat on subscribers, they beat on revenue and EPS over guidance. They smashed everything, but their guidance for next quarter was awful. But they still said despite that, they're going to reach their second half goals. And so they've really learned to kick the can, because they took the focus off the quarterly earnings and put it towards kind of where they said they're going to be at the halves of the year. So they kind of kicked the can. Their guidance was really, really bad for the next quarter. They guided down year over year now, which was different than this last quarter. And they even said their deficit is, their budget deficit or their free cash flow deficit is going to increase. So they're going to be spending more money, but they plan to keep the margins the same. So that's interesting, but that's kind of the quick rundown of it. However, all that's important because we want to see how this gets, absorbed by the market. Now, this is something I brought up on stream, and a lot of you guys now are thinking, I know you guys have seen how it affects stocks, but pay attention to this, upgrades and downgrades. Upgrades and downgrades in the sense that after these stocks now report, this is when the upgrades and downgrades come. This is now when the people start and the analysts start upgrading and downgrading the stock, saying, hey, this is what we think of it now, or based on what happened here, what they said here, the conference call, so on and so forth, they're making their decisions and moving on. So watch how Netflix gets absorbed in the market, but this is going to be a play. And like I said, for the option traders, you guys here on the, you've been on the stream and you're seeing, how it is with data. Today's like a Thursday. So, or tomorrow's going to be like a Thursday, because Thursday, the market is the last day, and that's when the contracts expire. So it's like getting an earnings right before. Watch how the volatility gets affected with time. So if it is going to make just a straight upward continuation move, that's one thing. However, if it does not, then you want to be patient with this. So again, we want to see how the market reacts to the velocity. However, the market might, we might see some moves. I think we might see a lot of moves early on and maybe later in the day, but with no big earnings coming after hours, you can't really expect too much. Again, the next few days is now pricing in, and that's what we want to see, how aggressively the market prices in the next, all these big earnings coming up. But that even reminded me of the play. I forgot another set of plays, though, because, speaking of continuation and going straight up and down, Bank of America reported this morning, too, and they killed it. And again, or no, they didn't. There was a mixed bag again. It was like some good things, some bad things. The trading profits has been another one, but we're going to get some from Morgan Stanley. But watch the banks. Watch Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs. But if those make continuations, and again, the pair between financials and even transports, as we've seen, those kind of hold the market. So we'll see if it's tech or not. But watching how Netflix plays out, it's going to be going over into something like UNH. You want to see what's going to gap up or down and get really far out of the money and see if it makes sense on that contract. And now as the IV drops, you could go out for next week. It's the same thing. I still have the UNH chart up, thankfully. So maybe we could go see, like, what were these prices at? Yeah, you could have got these for next week at $34. Okay, maybe 82 probably would have been realistic. I would say maybe if you went down maybe two more strikes, those 210s. Yeah, you're looking at what? 30, 40 bucks, 50 bucks realistically, and those would have went up to, ended up 300% on the bid, but they went up about 1,000%. So, not too bad there. But what I'm saying is you could maybe play a little bit of time and be cautious for that, and again, take advantage of what next week has. So watch all those plays now, and then let's talk about, going forth with Qualcomm. So now, and even the options, because these are the specific options, because this is what I'm going to tell you. Watch those Netflixes. Now watch UNH as well, too. It's the same thing. Any of these 220s, the calls are moving in tandem, and this is the thing about UNH that I like a lot, and I said this on stream today. At one point, when it starts getting in these just like straight sell-off modes, it's not even like factoring in. It doesn't price in anything unique per contract. It just starts pricing in a base spread, and it's just like I think it's about 2 or 3%, or it's usually $3 or $4, and they usually remain the same price. So that's kind of how we played it. So watch UNH. So puts and calls are both on game depending on what it does. It has a big sell-off That is a big level of support, so we'll see what happens. There is the other plays like Cigna, Humana, and Anthem, but I'm not really too big of a fan of them. But Cigna did make the move today. But watch UNH, I like that. Another one, again, and these are all weeklies. These are low probabilities. Again, this is a Thursday, and this doesn't mean you play these tomorrow. That's why I'm saying this is for the whole rest of this week. You watch these coming into Thursday, the end of the week right there, because these are going to be able to make moves. The time is going to be on your side, so you don't have to act fast on any of these options and watch them. It does depend how the play is, so again, be on stream. We're going to be watching these and going over them. Shout out to chat. But watch these Disneys now. They're dropping a lot. They're starting to capitulate, but they're still at some of the points, again, because these contracts are expiring. It's the same thing if you saw the video of how we played Disney last week. These all have to die off one by one, so you got to keep your eye out on that and play it pretty smart, but we want to take advantage of it. But once these kind of come back to their original pricing, we could start to see Disney lose some of that premium and maybe get a play, but we need Disney to have the move, and we'll see. Hopefully there's not any big gap up or down moves. That can make a lot of plays hard off of the morning, so you got to be careful off that. But again, understand what, even I'm going back to Netflix and earnings, what some of these continuation plays could offer. So Disney, again, it's running off of the event. Qualcomm's going to be running off of an earnings-like event. Same thing even with Apple. But now Netflix is going to have a catalyst. And that's the thing, too. Even though we saw United Health make a move, Netflix doesn't have to make a move. Depending on what we see with the market and how it reacts, it could go up or down and hold one of those moves. It doesn't have to continue and do what United did and just go straight down. Where is United? Because I think we've seen a lot of continuations. It doesn't have to do that. A lot of things that could happen, you might see it go up, come down, gap up here, and then it could just bounce around in here. So watch out for that, though, and keep that in mind. But watch out for the Fridays again, or not Fridays. Even in general, these plays, you could take it slow, but wait for Disney to come down. But those I'm starting to like as they come down. I even said the Home Depots as well. And now let's look at Qualcomm, because now this is going to be the key strategy, because these contracts are going to have the implied volatility on Qualcomm. I'm going to tell you guys right now is crazy, but it might be jacked up tomorrow, because here's the deal. That's how I got those contracts. I'm going to fill you in a little bit on some of the secret. Because Qualcomm it's a high IV. The stock could get high IV, but it doesn't really move, and it's not supposed to move like this, especially after some of the deals it's had. So this was the play, and you could see it today, what it did. Well, I'll go over the play I'm going to say to look at beyond that. I like the plays I got. I like the June, and really what I'm going to plan to do, I'm going to show you with it being up. I am going to look to hopefully sell it. It'll be in the money tomorrow. We'll see the reaction. But if I could sell out of that contract, it has a lot of time, so I want to hold it. If I could get another June or a cheaper contract at a different strike, or I might sell it off, wait a little bit and hope it bounces and take the risk. I miss out the gains and it runs on me. But my play is to look to sell it and roll over to another one, or sell off and wait. But if I can play some of these weeklies and snake some of these, I'm going to. And what I mean by that is, again, look at these contracts came in the money, and these contracts were probably 1 cent, 20 cents to $1. I think these had to, come on, give me like a 1 penny one right there. Yeah, maybe like 8 cents. There you go. 3 cents, 3 cents to $40. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's awesome. And again, if that rockets, but again, the timing of it. So again, these contracts could only go up so much. It's going to be the IV, but we have to see how Qualcomm gets baked in. It's going to suck that it's going to open up with it, because it still moved another $3 or $4 after hours. It closed at like 72. So if that's up pre-market, we're going to see what that does to Apple. But that's going to be the play. Now, for you guys who saw this, there's one thing I'm going to tell you guys to get from this play. If you guys played it, awesome. And again, be smart. And I'm telling you, my strategy of what I plan to do is roll over. And if you have extraordinary profits on it, congratulations. Take the money and don't give it back, and be smart with it. Again, it's all about strategy and how you finesse it. That's what's crazy, is because everybody could buy the same contract, but not everyone's going to come out with the same profit. So you see here, I bought these at $258, one Qualcomm, June 25th, June 21st, 75 calls at 35 cents. So those are literally right here in the money. They closed at $220, and we bought them for 30 cents, but now those are in the money, and we got it right here. Literally, it was like right at 258. Yeah, I think I was on the third candle. I was a little late, but I got it for 35 cents. I remember I was a little late, and I did the market order. You guys remember it was dropping, and I put it in there. And again, you could watch this live, but the key to this was the June. I getting a contract in June because, and this is what I'm going to go over the video, and I want you guys to be careful for this tomorrow, because the shorter duration contracts have more implied volatility. That's just that, because the minute those prices go up, they have less time in expiration, so you're theoretically paying for more nothing because there's less time, but you're paying a higher price. So watch out for that. The safe zone is go further and out. So with a lot of these plays, if you're unsure, and again with that big earnings next week, you could do that. And the key here, I flipped it like a day trade. I made 1,000% playing it like a day trade. News drops and I got it, but I didn't have to even go to the weekly. So expand your horizons here. A lot of you think you have to go certain places. It's not the case. You have to understand how options are going to move. Yeah, I could have made a pretty great percentage here. What would have been if I got, and that's the thing. I don't even think I couldn't even got filled on these without the risk. Like, look at these schmucks who are getting filled because, that I knew you've seen me do that, trying to chase these off a market order. It literally, okay, I could have turned what? Maybe that same 30, 40 bucks into $700, which would have been awesome. But I think it'll be around that price tomorrow. But we'll see again. Even then, though, now I have 68 days. The amount of time on that is ridiculous, and it gives me time for earnings. And that's what I'm saying here is if you take advantage of some of these plays, you guys, before earnings moves, and this is what I'm telling you, be on the lookout. You guys are seeing these opportunities. Someone says, how often does Qualcomm moves like that happen? I'm saying, wake up. Look at what happened with Disney. Look at what happened with Restoration Hardware, with Lululemon, with FedEx. It's happening. It's the most wonderful. That was a bad singing voice, man. But you get the idea, though. So be smart with it, though. And I want you guys to be focused here. But yeah, take advantage of these plays before earnings it happens, and set yourself up to be in the game on these. And that's why I said May. You guys see Amazon. I called those out a few times ago. I put them all, they're on the watch list. You guys could watch these. You guys are on the stream hearing it. So hopefully you guys are making a game plan. And understand, too, some people posted on the watch list very, very wise advice. You don't have to play earnings. This might not be the season for you. If you feel like you're new, don't worry. Don't let there be FOMO, because guess what? It happens every single 3 months. So if this one's a dud of an earnings season, that's it. And again, Netflix should even show you, watch the chat room during the day. A lot of emotions involved with earnings, man. So you're going to see it's not for everybody. Control your expectations. Be smart. Get on the chat, you guys. Post your watch list. Like the video. Subscribe. Let's go.